Alright everyone, today the deck we're playing is the Steel Dialga plus Gholdengo list, copied from the world #1 player S1 Gun. I think it's actually pretty strong, especially Gholdengo as a card. It's only a stage 1, and it can attack for 1 energy, so if you're going first, paired with this Metal Defense Net plus Nurse Joy, it's still possible to build up Gholdengo, even if Dialga isn't charging in the active. And yeah, today might only be this one video, because I'm recording this pretty late at night. Technically I shouldn't, but I'm kinda being lazy. So sorry about that everyone. I had way too much stuff to deal with today. Alright, let's start with the ideal opening setup. Best case scenario, Dialga starts in the active. Whether you go first or second, you really want Dialga up front if you can. Gholdengo is a Pokémon that needs a ton of metal energy. The more metal energy you have, the more you can deal huge damage to your opponent. But the damage is random, and it can overflow, so be careful when you use it. Don't think, oh, I've got a ton of metal energy, so I ought to win. Or I'll just wipe their whole board. That's not how it works. It's totally possible. All your damage piles onto a single Pokémon. So to make sure, Gholdengo can swing once and immediately steal the tempo of the game. I'd recommend building up your Gholdengo as much as possible, stockpiling metal energy in hand, and keeping Dialga in the active for as long as you can. S1 Gun clearly understands where this deck's core plan is, so the items and supporters he runs are basically all defensive. For sustain, it's Ice Pop and Nurse Joy. And for defense tools, it's Metal Defense Net and Protective Cape. If you want to play Dialga plus Gholdengo, you can literally copy this list. I really like his understanding of the deck. And one last reminder, in the Gholdengo evolution line, there's one copy that is not the X version. That card is basically there to deal with Oricorio situations. In some special cases, it can also be for board positioning. Like say, your Gimmighoul already got code in the active, and you need a 1-prize Pokémon to bridge the game. But honestly, that's still rough, because it's not exactly a strong fighter. So I'd recommend, if the deck you're facing is not an Oricorio deck, don't evolve into the non-X version. For positioning, try to keep it 2+2 if possible. But if your opponent really is on an Oricorio deck, as long as they bench other Pokémon, you can still use Gholdengo's spread attack to take prizes. But if they're super careful and super sneaky, and they only put 1 Oricorio in the active, with nothing on the bench, then that's when you consider evolving into the non-X Gholdengo to deal with that active Oricorio. Alright, that's the concept. Since this is a fun deck, let's jump into today's matches. Game 1 in the footage is against Hydreigon plus Nihilego, which was meta last format. Because we equipped Metal Defense Net, we successfully blocked Hydreigon's Destruction Beam attack. Even with Nihilego's poison, they still couldn't take out my active Dialga. Now about this Ice Pop. I'm sure some handsome viewers are gonna say, bro, are you trying to gamble? Trying to heal your Dialga back to full, right? It's not really like that. The main thing is Dialga is poisoned, and I don't want it to die to poison damage. Like, I don't want it to die before they even attack me, so I took the heal, so Dialga can survive this turn. If that Ice Pop flip had been heads, that would have been even crazier. Could survive 2 turns of poison ticks in a row. But unfortunately, my opponent actually counted the poison math perfect. They didn't rush an attack. But there's one thing I want to criticize a bit. Sure, they calculated poison damage really well. But if they really understood my board states, they should know my Gholdengo is coming online this turn. If I were them, I wouldn't attach energy to Hydreigon. I don't know why they did that. It just cost them HP. It probably didn't matter much, but it's one of those small gameplay details. At this point, I'll be honest, I thought the game was basically locked up. Then I saw this Sabrina and I was like, okay, that's annoying. But after thinking a bit, it's still fine, because I still have Nurse Joy in the deck. And without Hydreigon, their Absol deck loses its burst damage. Plus, if I don't attack proactively, their Poison Sting won't do damage. But yeah, this Sabrina made my Metal Defense net look absolutely useless. And then the result here. Honestly, I don't even know what to say. They played a card I didn't understand at all. At that point, I'd rather just run 2 more Nurse Joy than teching for Oricorio, honestly. Game 2 starts with Gimmighoul in the active. That's not an ideal opener. But my opponent is on Decidueye. So let's see how I handle this one. Against Decidueye, we're going second and we start Gimmighoul. Bad opening position, but both decks really want to go second. So going second is actually good for me. And the key is I already have Gholdengo in hand. If I set up fast enough, I can just evolve straight into Gholdengo and start applying pressure. Man, I've never trusted this coin. When I was recording footage, I ran into an Oricorio deck once. I used the non-X Gholdengo. I had 6 energy, flipped 6 coins, and I only hit 1 heads. I still don't understand it. This coin has never been on my side. My opponent evolves into the non-X Decidueye. At this point, I don't really have many options if I bench more Pokémon. It feels like I'm just making my own prize trade harder, so I'm probably going to let Gholdengo go solo. Basically treat it like I'm playing Mawile or something. And this Metal Defense net into a deck like Decidueye, a deck that trades raw power for mobility and utility, is actually really good, because their damage isn't that high. After I equip the net, their attack only hits for 20. That's it. And then I top deck another net. That felt pretty great. Plus I already have Ice Pop and Nurse Joy in hand. If I flip tails, it's fine. I still have Nurse Joy. Every turn they stall, the pressure gets worse for them because my Gholdengo is still growing. My damage ceiling is basically unlimited. At this point, they've already dropped their second prize. They can't afford to give up a NY more prizes. If either the active or bench goes down, the game just ends on the spot. So here they use Erica to heal up the active a bit, but their bench is still sitting on a super dangerous KO line. As long as Gholdengo's attack lands 2 energies worth of onto their bench, roll it. This game is instantly over-declared win. And since they're on Decidueye, they don't really have any burst options. They have to survive through this many turns, which is pretty hard. Game 3 footage, it's Hydreigon again. My opponent opened with an item, and they shuffled in a copycat, but that copycat is acceptable, because it only drew them 1 extra card. And Gimmighoul shows up right on time. Here I probably should think about playing Protective Cape plus Copycat to refresh my hand. But I didn't do that. Let me explain how to use Protective Cape properly. So, yes, you can attach the cape here, and then Copycat to draw 2 cards. But once you give it the cape, your opponent usually won't have a way to strip tools off. Like, they usually won't have Guzma-style tool removal. So if this Gimmighoul is going to be your main carry, you really have to think it through. Once you attach Protective Cape, it means you can equip Metal Defense Net later. And Metal Defense Net is a super strong combat tool, especially in the late game. If you have 2 nets in hand, double reduction is like 100 damage reduced. That's insane. And this list also has sustain. So maybe your Gholdengo can attack several more times and flip the whole game. So when you have the choice, don't slam your tools too early. Now at this point, the sharp-eyed, good-looking viewers might notice, yo streamer, you're joking around and talking, and suddenly the cape is down? It's not what you think, okay? Let your teacher explain. What happened on the turn I played it? Here's the thing. My Dialga just code their Chingling. So my prize pressure dropped a lot. I only needed to take 2 more prizes. My read was, if I remove that Chingling, then later my Gholdengo needs fewer attacks to finish the game. So I played the Protective Cape here to compress my hand and also prevent them from copycatting and finding Hydreigon pieces, plus it also hedges against something else. It's unlikely but possible. They could have baby Absol. That's the idea. That was my line. The key is Dialga's basic hit landed on the Chingling. So that's why this play made sense. If Dialga hadn't taken that Chingling prize, I would not have played it like this. Right here, I could probably just go for it and close, honestly. But I wanted to play a bit safer, though safer might not even be safer. Maybe going for the win now is higher EV, but to avoid my Gholdengo deciding to act up, like all the damage landing onto the Chingling, and then my opponent happens to have Hydreigon plus red in hand, I'd look like a total noob, so I played a bit more conservative. Also, having more energy makes the big swing feel better. A clean KO isn't what I want overkill. They've got 150 HP. I want to hit for like 500. So Ice Pop again, keep my active Dialga in a safe HP range. And if they really push me and actually go for Hydreigon plus red plays, my benched Gimmighoul will make them pay for it. And then they successfully evolve into Hydreigon and bring it up from the back. Turns out they didn't even have red at all. It was just my own paranoia. But it still hit pretty hard. They left my Dialga at low HP. Alright, feels like it's about time. This turn I should be able to get ready to pop off, because they already attached a defensive card, that Dark Pendant tool. I really don't want to see that card. So remember, they pushed me first, okay? It's not me trying to be toxic. And the last game of today's footage is also against a super strong deck in the new format, Bellabolt. And this opponent is someone who actually grinds ladder. They've even hit top 1000 before. If you're interested, watch till the end. If not, feel free to go copy other lists. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I'm a Greninja player. See you next time, peace.
Set my heart on fire.